Even if you didn't grow up in a difficult home environment, it is still so important to go out on your own so you can learn how to be self sufficient.
I can say that it's up to me whether or not I go to bed on time, right? Like all those cute little things that like add up. She said that she had the control over that now. And most importantly, what she said was, I feel like I've actually been able to start healing.
Hey, everybody, it's Bianca.
And it's Emilia.
Welcome to another episode of Evolve Ventures, where we're helping growth minded humans evolve by breaking one limiting belief at a time. We hope you enjoyed the last episode, number 259, Motivation Monday. How to let go. For today, number 260, why it's important to move out.
So I was on a coaching call with a client, and this was actually like a couple, I would say like 6 months back, but it still rings true. And I think it's super important as we bring this topic to our listeners and this community. And honestly, you and I always need this reminder too. I think everyone needs this reminder, quite frankly. But I was on this coaching call with my client, and she was telling me it was after a couple months, she and I were coaching, and she had moved out of her parents' house. And she was telling me, Amelia, I'm now in my own apartment. She moved out to Boston actually. And she was like, I'm now in my own apartment. And while I have my struggles and my challenges with my roommates and everything, I'm so grateful that I made this leap, or I took this leap of faith and I took this step, because honestly, looking back, hindsight's always 2020, but like I would have never have put myself on my own 2 feet if I didn't. It was so easy living at my parents' house. It was so easy having everything taken care of me. And she was like, my laundry, my food, my meals, all that stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, missing my mom's cooking, missing like the laundry, all that. Like I remember that, right? We don't
Having no
realize how
bills.
good, right? No bills. We don't realize how great that really is. Shout out to all the parents that are doing all these things for their kids. And she was saying, like, but here's the thing. And this is where I really think that the juice of the episode is really going to be in today. Had I not taken that step, and had you not, quite frankly, lovingly pushed me to take that step of moving out of that environment, I really would not have been able to be in my own 2 feet. I wouldn't really have the control that I feel now over my life, the happiness that I feel now, and the confidence, quite frankly, that I have now, because I can say that I pay my own bills. I can say that I put the roof over my head. I can say that it's up to me whether or not I go to bed on time, right? Like all those cute little things that like add up.
Yeah.
She said that she had the control over that now. And most importantly, what she said was, I feel like I've actually been able to start healing, which I know a
Mm.
lot of us struggle with when we're still underneath the roof of our parents, when we're still in an old environment that created so many wounds and so many challenges for us. Like, and I know you and I have both experienced that, right? It's when we get out of that environment where we can really start to see a different perspective on things. And when we really have the opportunity to break away from whatever limiting beliefs about ourselves, the world, and the people around us that we actually have, right? So I was just so proud of her. And I wanted to make sure that I brought that into this episode, because
Yeah.
to this episode, why it's important to move out. Like, there's so many things that we can talk about this, but I know you've had your own set of experiences, and I want to I want to bring that to the forefront. The control that she now feels, the happiness that she can genuinely say that she has, and the healing that is a genuinely quite the trifecta. So, yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot, and obviously there's a lot of data to support this, but you can't heal in the environment where your trauma is. And for so many people, and just for so many of us, there are a lot of wounds when it comes to family.
Yeah.
And just a lot of wounds in and of themselves. And when you're in an environment where everything is being done for you, you don't have to really grow, you don't have to challenge yourself, you don't have to strive for more. Why would you? It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy not to. You don't have to. And then add on top of that, Like growing up, because I lived at home up until the moment that I had to, not by choice. I felt forced to live at home. Um, but growing up being a Middle Eastern girl back then, I was so unbelievably coddled. And we've talked about this. I had no idea how to do anything. I didn't know how to go get an oil change, let alone how to like do, I don't know,
Pay your own bills, what
pay.
insurance was like, stuff like that.
I mean, I knew how to pay my bills, but like, I didn't know how to pay off a credit card. I was like, how do you pay a credit card? I was like, do you
Yeah,
just get like a letter in the mail or something and they send you that? Like, I had no idea. And I adore my parents, but they didn't teach me how to do any of this stuff. And so many of us, our parents don't teach us these things. And then we're expected to go out into the world having an understanding of how the world works when it's like you never learned in school because our education system is trash. We never learned this from, it's true and you know it. We never learned this at home because our parents didn't know how to teach us these things. And then we're supposed to be these adults and we have no idea how to do anything, no idea what's going on. And we feel completely dysregulated. Like, how many people have you heard be like, I wish I had a more adultier adult? It's like, I'm an adult, but I need a more adultier adult. I felt
for
that
sure.
way for the first year that I lived
Yeah,
on my own. So when I moved out because I had to. It wasn't because I was ready. I wasn't ready
for
to move out. I
sure.
wanted to move out for years, but for whatever reason, I didn't. Guilt trips and whatever. But when I actually moved out, when I left home, it was such a, honestly, a horrible transition for me because
Yeah.
I had no idea how to do anything. And I moved in with a partner and she kind of did everything because it was easier. And then when I left that relationship and actually moved out on my own, I had no idea how to navigate the world. I had
Yeah.
no sense of confidence. I had no sense of um, autonomy and no idea how to do anything. I genuinely felt like a child.
Yeah, it's
And
like
it
lost
was,
in the world naked and afraid again. Only like
it was,
everyone thinks they're an adult and know how to
I
do all
know.
these things.
It's unreal. It truly was trial by fire.
Yeah.
And it was the best experience I've ever had. Do I want to go through it again? Absolutely, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I wish I was taught these things growing up, but I wasn't. And it was an incredible experience for me because I had to learn in real time, okay, how do I pay rent? How
Yeah.
do I get car insurance? How do I get homeowners insurance? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I set up my space? How do I want my space? Oh, this is
Sure.
my home. Oh, what are my interests? What do I like and not like? Oh, my style is kind of like my mom. Wait a minute, what the hell? It was, it was very, it was, it was rocky at first. And then I got into the swing of things. And then it's like, oh, okay, I actually feel like an adult. Oh, I actually have a safe space now to where I can process my trauma. I can process all of these challenges that I went through. I actually feel at home because it's my space and I get to choose it. And for anyone who grew up where you didn't have a traumatic childhood, you didn't have dysregulation with your family, number one, that's amazing. And I celebrate you. And I'm so glad that that was your experience because a lot of people feel guilty for that. It's like, oh, well, I didn't have anything wrong in my childhood. It's like, good. I wish more people didn't. So, number one, good for you. That's amazing. Number two, even if you didn't grow up in a difficult home environment, it is still so important to go out on your own so you can learn how to be self sufficient.
So true. And here's the thing too that this client and I were talking about, like, she's like, she actually experienced like that guilt that a lot of people actually do when they feel as though they had all of their needs met, right? It's like, well, my parents worked really difficult Like they worked really hard. As a matter of fact, they worked their
Oh, yeah.
asses off, right, to just provide all of the needs that I had. And they were foreigners at, so they came into this country not speaking the language. They came in not knowing anyone, and they made something of themselves. And
Yeah.
they gave their children everything that they didn't have. So who am I to feel like not guilty about talking about how my needs weren't actually met from an emotional standpoint, right? And that's where this dialogue is a really, really beautiful, because I think one of the biggest reasons why it's important to move out of old environments is because likely you're growing and you're trying to develop. If you're listening to this podcast, or someone that's growth oriented, right? Or you're trying to really help and support your mental health in a higher degree of capacity than you did before, maybe. And with that, there's emotional needs that you're having really get pinged on. And there's likely very few people in your world that know how to support your emotional needs to the extent that your needs are felt, right? So, with that, she was talking about this, like how she's going through that guilt experience. And while she's super grateful for what she had, she's also holding a duality of like, I honestly needed to show myself that not all my needs were met underneath the roof in the household that I grew up on or grew up in.
Mhm.
And this isn't a podcast episode to shame or guilt any parents that are doing their best, because, and I think that
No,
that
not
goes
at
without
all.
being said. But here's the thing, like there is a low awareness of how to teach some of these things. And if you're, let's say, for example, using this, right? If you're someone that's a foreigner that's coming to this country, don't know anyone, you're trying to make, give the best to your children that you didn't have, likely emotionally, you're not thinking how emotionally present and emotionally available and emotionally aware, inept you have to be, in addition to putting the roof over the head, in addition to having all of the other physical external needs met, right? There's a whole being that's deep down inside where confidence is built, where self esteem is built, where self efficacy, right? Self belief and self worth is built, where emotional um, resilience is built. All of those skill sets only happen through what you just said, be the trial by fire, right? Trial and error, and going out and doing that, having exposure in the little ways. And I'll definitely shout out my parents, because like they definitely did a, and when I hear other people talk about their parents and how this evolved.
Hello, everybody. My name is Derek Smith, and I'm the department head of the Evolve Venture Society page. I just wanted to come on here and talk about my time at Evolve and being a team member. It's been nothing short of phenomenal, and I don't say that as somebody just trying to hype up the team or the business or anything like that. No, it's genuine, and like genuinely, I've never been a part of such a group, had people that were so invested in me, being able to keep me accountable, and like pushing and really just supporting me for my own growth. And the amount of things that I've been able to help and influence, manage in myself, learn about, and just being a part of this community, all under the guidance of Bianca and Emilia, for me, that's just been phenomenal. So my time here has just been very, very blessed. So thank you, Emilia. Thank you, Bianca. You guys rock.
Now, my family was more of the entrepreneurial spirit, so they kind of had to teach me some of these things, but I know that there was a conscious choice in that, right? Like, so it was like, how you got to pay rent if you're going to live here, some of those things, right? So being educated in that way did have that trial by error and the confusion of like, well, wait, if I'm part of the family, why am I paying rent? Like, right? Like it did have some confusion around that and some emotional challenges with that, but it did equip me to be able to kind of launch into the quote unquote real adulting world a lot better than someone who didn't have to develop the financial skill of understanding how you need to balance what you want in life versus what you need, right? And so all of those
Right.
things, it's important to talk about when it comes to what are the environments for everyone that's joining us on this episode be, and even you and I, to always reflect upon what are the environments that are contributing and meeting our needs, and how are they actually limiting us right now, because we oftentimes
Mm.
don't think about where our limitations are in our current environments. And I think that's a sneaky challenge that we experience, because unless we're kind of forced out into a new world, right, to what we talked about, not really going to be ready to go outside of our comfort zone, not going to be really ready to go to this specific next level or evolved version of ourselves unless life kind of pushes us. And what are we leaving on the
Yeah.
table by not having that conversation? Or at the very least, to what this client had said, by not having someone in your corner who can at least have you reflect upon that and then say, okay, where am I not actually in my comfort zone? Where can I grow a little bit more, or put myself in those arenas where it is a little bit more challenged by air, by fire?
Yeah.
Because it's in those arenas where you show yourself what you're truly capable of. And like this client, and like you showed yourself, and like I've shown myself, like we are so much more capable than we currently believe. But yet, if we're in an environment that's constantly enabling, by no fault of anyone, right? They want to see you not go through pain. They're unconsciously enabling you. So, what is that for you? What is that for all of us when it comes to that growth zone for each of us?
I mean, it's terrifying when you're in that space. I remember feeling so incompetent and feeling like if I move out, how the hell am I going to be able to take care of myself? How am I going to be able to to do everything that I need to do? I don't know how to do anything. And
Right?
that's why I stayed. And the guilt trip on top of it of like, mom and dad did everything for me. Just like your client. Mom and dad did
Yeah.
everything for me. Am I selfish? Is there
Right.
something wrong with me that I'm like complaining? It it's all of these things that kind of keep us stuck staying in those old environments, and the lack of belief that we have because we've never had to challenge ourselves to go past our comfort zone, especially someone like me who I was so coddled. I was so unbelievably coddled in certain arenas. Like all of my physical needs were met. I didn't have to lift a finger in that respect, right? Like they challenged me in other ways, but when it came to that, I didn't know how to do anything. So I didn't believe I could. And that made it harder to want to leave because it's like I
Right.
don't believe that I can do this. I don't know how to
Yeah.
do this. What happens if I fail? And then I
Mhm.
have to hear the, oh, I told you so. See, I knew you couldn't do it. I knew you didn't know how to live on your own. We told you.
Right.
If this is something that you're dealing with and this is something that you're going through, before you make the decision to move out, which granted, we're both saying right here and right now, you should move
Bro,
out.
move out. Bro, move out.
If you're financially stable enough to do so, we're not saying like
Of
you have
course.
$3 in your bank account and no income, move out of your parents' house. But what we're saying is,
Or move out of your current situation. Cause like I have a former client, former team member in mind, actually, where it's like I know that they're in a specific apartment, and it's like I know that they're not in their growth zone. I know that they're in a zone where it's like their environment is actually probably holding them back, right? And so it's like we are encouraging the next layer of what is to come so that you can prove yourself how capable you even are, right? And there's so many of that, but yet it's comfortable, right? So why would you? But keep going.
to anyone who's trying to make the decision whether to move out or not, and what's stopping you is this fear of not knowing how to do it, not knowing if you're going to be able to get through it, not knowing if, you're capable and able. What I would suggest is do some research and ask somebody who did it what it took. Build the confidence by someone else's example who did it. And I would suggest someone more similar to you and what your lifestyle looks like so you can have an example. So, someone who would be best suited to reach out to me is probably someone who also grew up in an ethnically diverse family, or somebody who, was just very coddled and had everything taken care of for them as a kid, and who probably had low self worth or low self esteem. And asking, someone like me or someone or me, how did you do it? How did you get through that? How did you do this? Well, what was the step? Blah, blah, blah. When you can have someone who you're like, ooh, I relate to them, they relate to me.
Hmm.
It's like you can believe it a little bit more. You can
For
believe
sure.
that it's possible for you because someone like you went through it too. If that's you, or if you're someone who's more like Emilia, right? Someone whose parents challenged them to grow a little bit more, but it was still hard to do it. It was still uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
There's people out there who are like you who can help you. It's just going to take a little bit of courage in reaching out. If that is you, and if you relate to Emilia or I, get down in the DMs, send us a message. We are more than happy to help you walk through this.
For sure. And here's the thing, like every single person that I've talked to about like moving out of an old environment. So this could even apply to you if you're in a career where you're not really feeling fulfilled, right? You're not as happy as you want to be, or you're in a relationship, right? There's the way in which I look at environments is whatever the bubble is that you're currently in right now, the career, the household, the relationship, whatever, it's not fulfilling. There's so much on the other side, but yet we can't experience that in advance. So having someone right there to support you that says, you know what, it's going to be better off if you do try because of what you show yourself in that journey. And that is absolutely everything. I have not heard an exception to people who have said, I moved out of this environment and it was struggle bus, but I didn't show myself what I was capable of. So I encourage every single one of you that are listening to this episode. It's January. There's likely environments where you have been unfulfilled in and you want to take that next step. You want to start to go over to a new environment that would support your growth, whether it be an actual new place or it might be a new relationship. It might be a new community that supports your growth. Little steps add up over time, and it's in the people that help you in that step. So if that's someone that, like, if you're someone who is struggling to do that and you want someone that can help usher you towards that better environment that supports your growth, Bianca and I have launched the You Do You program, which you'll see on our website. That is something
Hey.
that we're super excited about. This is growth on your own terms. So whether you want more support in the mental health arena and therapy component of this, that is where we have a stream for you to be supported in, or whether it's you want more coaching on that. Both of us are so excited because now we can finally meet you where you're at and help you grow, help get you support at your own pace on your own terms. It's 24/7 access to a therapist or a coach. It is completely virtual online, and you don't have that like aggressive accountability component of the one-to-one. So super duper affordable, and we're so excited to have that now in the marketplace. We are getting members signing up for that left and right, and we couldn't be more grateful to have this be something that the community is really saying it's meeting the need. It's meeting the need, which wasn't there before, and now that's available to each one of you, our listeners. So we do have 7-day free
So
trials on
excited.
those. If that's something that you're interested in, growing, evolving at your own pace, please reach out to Bianca or I via email or DMs. Like you say, get down in the DMs, and we would love to have you as a member. So, with that said, Bianca,
Beautiful.
final episode, takeaway, suggestion, all that jazz.
Have the courage to challenge yourself. I I am the prime example. It is worth it. It is worth it. It is worth it. It is worth it, and you can do it. Episode suggestion 226: effective tools for dealing with challenges. And what about you?
Hey, all right. My episode suggestion is 248: how to break toxic patterns in our lives. Usually it's the
Ooh.
guilt trips that we're self-inducing around this arena. Like what if I actually do go to this new place? What if I do move out? What are the other people going to feel? And it's those toxic patterns that keep us so stuck in the environments that do not support our growth, do not support our fulfillment. So I will echo what you say, have the courage to reach out to us, have the courage to take a baby step and focus on those baby steps and celebrate them as they come. All right. So
Beautiful.
have a wonderful day. As Bianca says, go crush your week. I'm going to say that too. I
Crush it.
love it.
Crush it.
Crush your week. And we will talk to you soon. We can't wait to hear from you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.